This is Van the Ghost, and I apologize. I got a cold, so my voice is a little different. But Get Up to 'Em Raw is our latest track that we worked on yesterday. And we're going to talk about how that relates to our expansive sound. And we are a big proponent of using hardware workflow with recorders directly on hardware synths rather than using a digital audio workstation or a DAW. And the lead singer of Ham Electric Ghost, Josephine Electric, who is a creation of subtractive synthesis via courtesy the Roland VT4 vocal transformer, has a big diatribe in this song about how she ain't using no fucking DAW, that she's going to record raw. And that's pretty much the whole focus of this song. So the song was initially created by taking a Moog, drummer from another mother, and running a loop, a controlled voltage loop through a Mats utility module from Make Noise to create the bass, heavy bass dump that you hear that's repetitive. And then we played using the ladder filters and the resonance and popping between oscillators 1 and 2 and popping between doing basically synced oscillators using the oscillator sync and then turn it on, turn it off. And then the whole point of using these analog synths is if you record them raw instead of using a DAW and you play the filters as you record them, you can get a very realistic, almost live-like performance, and it captured it, on our Zoom R24. We don't lose any bandwidth, we don't get any compression, and we get a sound that we want. And then we also do this kind of stream of consciousness where we do the lyrics live. We kind of do them off the cuff. We have maybe an idea that we put down, and then we kind of elaborate on it as we feel it. So we started in this whole game as a poet. We published a lot of poetry back when we were in our 20s, and we take this kind of poetic poetry slam kind of, concept. And it's similar to what Dylan used to do. We're big fans of Dylan and Conor Oberst and Neil Young. But we want to kind of bring that to electronic music. And so we record, like the Allman Brothers record like live recordings of new tracks. And then we do overdubs where appropriate. So this song basically was a romp using our analog gear, mostly the Moog D-Fan. We also have the Mother 32, but it's very low. And then we have our trusty Juno GI. We're doing our guitar synth patches that we play live. And so, Josephine just basically say, you need to give people the music raw. They need to understand electronic music has to have some life in it. It can't be just cold. It should have some kind of power. And they shouldn't just be a bunch of loops, fruity loops stacked together and sounding pristinely perfect, and not having any kind of, like, the whole thing of what we believe in is in music, the mistakes or the happy accidents or timing changes because you're playing live add character to the song and shouldn't be disregarded or cleaned up so much that all you get is a perfect mix. I think anybody who works with Euro racks and uses analog synths understands what I'm talking about. That kind of live feel. And initially, when the Moog created his Moog, he talked about how they were live instruments and you should play them live, kind of like the way jazz people play music live. And I'm a big proponent and lover of Coltrane and lover of Sun Ra. And a lot of these bands, the way jazz bands operate is they have a concept, they have a groove, they write it, they got it down, but then they elaborate. And every time you see them, they're going to do that song a little differently. It's not going to be running off a sequence or doing it the same way every freaking time. And that's what we're about. We're about that kind of collision of the senses, the expansive sound, of kind of, giving it all, your all, but doing it in a way that makes your music unique. And every time you approach it, Can we go back and play any of our songs? We can play them straight off our sequencer if we wanted to, but we tend to elaborate and kind of change them. So, the point of seeing the ghost is we're not going to play the song the same way all the time. And even when we do our live performances, we've done that a bunch of times. And what we do on Facebook Live, and we'll reinterpret like September, our rock opera, or we'll go back and play a new version of When Miss Electric Comes to Town. We just like to approach our music because as a musician, it's fun to actually do that. And I understand, like if you're a classical musician, you're going to play the Ninth Symphony exactly as it was written, but maybe not true, because your conductor is going to emphasize certain parts based on what he feels that music should be. So even if you go see a classical symphony, the conductor is going to present that piece how he interprets Beethoven or Bach. And it might not be the same as another conductor. So even a piece of music that you think is pretty much being run or being presented in a similar way, and you'll hear those themes, you'll hear the core themes of that music, but how it's interpreted, where the emphasis happens, is going to be different based on the conductor. And that's what I'm trying to talk about. And then sometimes with the DAW or these sequencers or doing Ableton Live, you don't do that. Now you get some people, the guitar player will probably play a live lead that's probably not exactly what was on the record, but too much of the song is basically the same. It's kind of like what the Eagles used to do with Hotel California. They kind of did a mind-numbing thing where they wanted to play the album exactly as it was on the radio, and it made the tour not fun for everybody in the band. I mean, it basically made it a chore. They would have been better served if they had realized that playing that album differently every time would have given people a lot of different variations, like the way Pearl Jam or Dead play. And hearing a different take on it would probably have been musically a smarter thing to do, rather than trying to do a money-making idea of making it sound exactly like the top 40 hit. So that's my soapbox there. The other song we have is a song we call Fuck Harder, where it's an OPZ song, totally done on the Teenage Engineering OPZ. We used a sampler, and buried in the sample is that chant, Fuck Harder. And that's just a use of that tool. We like that song. We like doing instrumentals. We like being a little risque. And, we that song is kind of what it is what it represents. And if you don't, not into that kind of sonic deviance, then, skip it. But we're very excited, but we have our new Patreon up. If you like what we're doing, we do have our new album, The Flower That Blooms, at Midnight in a Tomb on Amazon.com. And what we're offering is, if you're into the ghost and you want to help us out through Patreon, we will send you the CD of The Flower That Blooms at Midnight in a Tomb. And this album was 90% of it was constructed on a Teenage Engineering LPZ. So if you want to see or hear or feel what that's like, you can get the physical CD and play it. Again, it's on Amazon.com. We've got a link here if you just want to buy it. But if you want to support us, and on Patreon, to get that album, you got to send us more than what the album costs. So the album costs $10. If you want to support us, you got to send us at least $20 donation. This goes toward our touring efforts in the U.S. so that we can get a hotel and a U-Haul van to go do tours in New York City and Boston. This also goes toward our fund for equipment. We want to get a Moog Matriarch, and we want to look into getting the Roland Phantom and also some new recording equipment. In between that, if we don't get certain goals, we might look at the Hydrasynth, which is like $1,300. Looks like a really good choice for modern synthesis. It's here, unlike the UDO Super 6, which is a similar type of synth, though it's not FGPA, but it is a modern take on digital synthesis, which is pretty cool. It's a wavetable synth, so it's not something that hasn't been around. But we're also really interested in that we're probably nowhere near is Analog Solutions has come out with a synth called the Colossus, which is like a $30,000 synth that is a replication of an EMS type of synth with their famous EMS, like My Battleship grid for modulation, which was a grid where you actually put in little battleship like pegs into a grid to change the modulation matrix without using a CV line. And the cool thing was about the original EMS VC3 was that those little pegs were not always exactly electronically stable. So when you used them, they had different tolerances or voltage responses. So that when you use those grids and different pegs, it wasn't consistent in how they were constructed. So the sounds that you use when you created that grid would be always very different. So, the typical thing of an analog synth, who kind of goes back into our nature, is analog synths give you this capability to do sounds that you can't capture digitally. And the fact that a lot of these synth companies are creating these kind of monster machines, you can get a Model 1 or Model 2 from Moog. You can get a Model 33, get a Model 55. Now this Colossus comes out, which is like an EMS high-end clone or modern version. It has an oscilloscope. It's got voltmeters. It's got a touchpad to nod to the new. It's got 12 oscillators. The peg grid from the EMS VC3. There's a lot of cool stuff. And like the Hydrasynth is a nod to the CS80 because it's got a ribbon strip and polyphonic aftertouch. So I would like to, if you think about as a musician, I would argue like a soft synth, again, all these people talking about the soft synths. Well, soft synths are subject to your iOS or your system being stable. And if it's an upgrade, then some of your soft synth modules don't work anymore. Or you've got to make a choice about doing that. And if you get a hardware synth, my Juno has been stable since I bought it in 2008. And I don't have to worry about some kind of upgrade blowing it up. And in addition, you get something like a Hydrasynth, you get a ribbon controller from a CS80, and you get polyphonic aftertouch, which you can't do really on a soft synth. So there's certain things about analog synths in terms of their variable behavior and their natural behavior when they have to warm up and not warm up. If you use it when it's not warmed up, or you use it when it's hot, it behaves differently. It will give you a sound that you can't get from a DAW. You can't get from a sample digital synth because it doesn't behave that way because it's not physically trying to warm up. So you can get all kinds of weird responses from analog synths. Now I know people say it costs too much money, but if you count all the plugins you buy and all the upgrades you have to do to your PC, you probably could buy a Eurorack. You probably could buy a hardware synth like a Hydrasynth, which a Hydrasynth kind of shows you, you probably could do that all through plugins, but the fact that you can't get the ribbon and you can't get the polyphonic aftertouch and the knob function capability of actually using those knobs in real time give you something that I don't think you physically can do on the PC as well as you can do it on hardware. So you don't have to buy millions of these type of hardware synths. If you have like a Eurorack and you buy these modules, they're analog and digital, you will have so much variability in your sound that you wouldn't need to buy a lot of different soft synths because your hardware synth can create so many tones that you don't really need to keep on buying all these modules. You can just keep on reapproaching how you create your sound. I'm 2 years into having my Moogs, and I have not run out, and I will never run out of ways to create sound with them. So that's just the argument, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. Mother 32s and DFAMs are $600 each. A 6U is like $300, and you can just build what you want, a very customized hardware synth. So that's me on my soapbox. I'll stop talking for now, and we'll talk to you later.
Flip this. I'm not your little miss. In fact, you're my trick. Gotta flip it. Analog. Gotta hit the law. And take that dog. And give it back to the crowd. Take that dog. And give it back right now. Flip this. Gotta kiss this. I'm not the little miss. In fact, you're my trick. Analog is it law. It's just cause. And just cause. Not dog. Give it back raw. raw. Is the law. Yeah, just cause we don't want no fucking dog. Yeah, is the law. It's just cause we don't want no fucking dog. We want it raw. It's the law. We don't want no fucking dog. Analog. It is the law. We don't want no fucking dog. It lost your soul. Electronic music got too damn cold. And no soul. No, it lost the control. I got that punk aesthetic. And it's kinetic. No law. No dog. Yeah, we want that trance raw. No law and no dog. Want that psycho trance. We want it raw. Like you little miss. You got you my trick. I flip this. Gonna kiss my whole lip. No, now you know this. I flip this. Make you my trick. I got this. Make my trick. No law, fuck the dog. Brother X, pump aesthetic.